So in the last episode of The Breakthrough, I mentioned that I was seeing good progress, but I was worried about losing games. So Scott has already given me so much great coaching, but I had a couple of bad days on the court, and my mind started spinning about whether or not I could remember all the strategies or if I could even internalize all this information. So I started focusing on the drills that Scott assigned, and during rec play, the strategies that he gave me. So now let's get back into the studio and see how things are coming along. All right, Scott, welcome back, and congratulations on the Super Bowl winner last night.
Thank you. I played my best.
Right. You know, we were just talking before this, and I should have had a dog in the fight because I'm from Missouri and Kansas City, obviously. I used to root for the Chiefs, but I'm not a huge football fan. So, you know, I just kind of watch casually Super Bowls.
We can have a retroactive wager if you would like.
Right. Well, we both know the winners. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
no, this was a little good luck charm, wearing, just a little bit of Eagles wear since we started this show, and they haven't lost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's all because of you, Scott.
I'll need a new wardrobe going forward, though.
Right. All right. Well, let's jump into it. So we are going to go, why don't we back up for a second? So you and I met at Boulder Pickleball, your facility, and did some drilling lesson, and we brought in Jason as a third for some extra drilling. Do you have any key takeaway points from that? We can kind of talk about that for a minute.
I thought it was a great session. I mean, we were a little overdue for it because one or both of us were sick, for a couple of weeks. I'm really glad we finally got back out on the court. I noticed your play was improved. Your intellectual calculations were swifter and more accurate. So it was great to get back out on court with you. I introduced a new warm-up drill there. We use an 8-pound medicine ball. Looks like a little basketball, but it doesn't bounce very high. And I've been incorporating that for the last 5 or 6 weeks through various lessons and clinics. And it's imprinting lateral footwork and posture, primarily hinging from the knees like a shortstop to get down low and also get your body behind the ball. And it's minimizing the excessive backswings. It's great for tennis players. It's 8 pounds. So, I mean, we're warming up. And I just really like the movement patterns that are coming out of it. What did you think about it?
I thought that was really clever because there's no way, even with an 8-pound ball, it doesn't sound that heavy, but it's fairly heavy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm used to using my length and leaning to catch dinks, and that's a pattern, and it's hard to fall out of it. But you're not going to do that with an 8-pound medicine ball. You catch it over here, you're going to fall over. You catch it in front of you, you hinge at your hips, then you're going to fall forward. So right on, your body just naturally adapts to that, and you start imprinting this idea of crab walking over, getting the ball in the center of your body, that was really helpful for me.
And I think we identified that, with your length and reach and Jason's similar height, you can get away with extending and stretching and reaching. But for best practices, it would be ideal. And it's unique to pickleball to minimize the backswing by getting your body as a backstop, in the way of the excessive backswing. We're hitting a 9, 10, 11-foot shot. We really don't need a whole lot of, torque, through the trunk area. So, I like the results that we're getting so far. I'm glad you did as well, and we'll keep doing that.
It's also an excellent warm-up.
I thought so.
Yeah, cardio warm-up, because I came in, it was 10 degrees outside or whatever, and I had coat on. I took the coat off, and I had a sweatshirt and pants, and after 5 minutes of that, I was in shorts and a t-shirt, so it's a really good warm-up.
And once we were warmed up, I mean, we grabbed the paddles and the ball, and we tried to, maintain a priority on our footwork and our movement and posture, and I think we did that well. We moved into heads-up, light, instigator game, which I think presented and then cemented when we brought Jason in a little bit later. The concept of when instigating, that the lower the ball, let's say for you, the greater you can anticipate the lower my shield as your opponent. Another way of saying it is, if you, as the would-be instigator, can wager that we thought our dink was going to bounce. And then you use your length and reach and athleticism to snag it out of the air. You might be able to get it back to us a quarter or a half second sooner than we expect. And that would achieve the primary objective, I think, of all kitchen play, which is to get the pop-up. And we did that heads up, and then we brought Jason in for some two-on-one play, which is a little more lifelike in that the oncoming dink is coming from cross court versus straight ahead.
So that's a great point, too, in the sense that it's not just kind of tricking your opponent into thinking you're not going to hit the ball when you do, but naturally the instigated balls from well below the net, you're not expecting as much because they don't come as much. Maybe at the pro level they do, but at my level, I don't see that much. And typically when it happens, it's an egregious error on the person speeding it up because they're going for a body bag or something, or just not thinking through, and you just get out of the way and it flies 20 feet out. But those little, 50% instigated shots. Another thing that happened when we were playing is you did one of those at me, and I didn't see it because it was hiding behind the net cord, the net tape. Right?
Yeah.
And it cleared the net tape, and it was on me, and I was just like, I had no idea where it was coming from, where it was going. So that's another advantage to hitting these instigated shots down at your shin level.
It is, and it's not one we can fully count on. You're 6'1", so your blind spot's different than a 5'2" player on the other side. But I think about half the time that I have success like that, my opponent says, I never saw the ball off your paddle, which means I better not screw up. Don't hit it in the net and don't hit it in the fence. If they can't see it,
right.
It's going to work out pretty well. An extension to that concept, we've been starting to use some language on this show about, what's our primary objective when we're in this phase of the rally, and what tactics do we have to select from? And I've been offering lately, in 4-person kitchen play, the primary objective is to get the pop-up. And I like to start with the most conservative goal, the most conservative tactic, which is good, deliberate dinking. From there. And if that's not working, we might move to deliberate dinking, but let's get more balls out of the air, steal time, rhythm, and comfort from the other guys. And if that's not working, let's look to instigate balls out of the air. Just get the ball to them 20% faster than they expect with the primary objective, get the pop-up. And if all else fails, then we can tee off on balls that bounce. But I find too many 4-0 to 4-5 players are taking this tee off on balls that bounce, and it's all the way over here, when we should be exploring more conservative options first until we learn that those don't work.
Okay.
So it's something of a risk continuum.
Yeah, I like that,
if you will,
concept. Sure. All right, Scott. Well, why don't we move on to Q&A first?
Okay.
So this week's Ask Scott segment is brought to you by Brioti Eyewear. I've been using Brioti for a while now for my eyewear when I'm on the court. So one thing I love about Brioti, in addition to feeling very secure on the court, knowing that I'm not going to have my eyes hurt. These are all Z87 plus rated protection. I like the comfort of them. They feel great. They don't slip. The style of the frame gives a really wide frame of view. So I'm not seeing very much frame at all in my peripheral vision. The lenses are fantastic. So they did a lot of research to boost certain colors and the color spectrum. You go out on a sunny day on the court, and it feels like once you put these on, you're looking in high definition. The lenses that I use are these shaded ones, which are the Augment 4D. There's another lighter lens called the Augment 4D Boost. You can see the difference here. You can use these on cloudy days outside or even indoor. The ones I use standard on indoor courts are the Dinkum Plus. These are basically clear lenses, but they have a touch of blue blocking technology, which helps tone down kind of LED for fluorescent light glares. So yeah, fantastic glasses. You can buy them for $214 and take 10% off with the code BREAKTHROUGH. And thank you, Brioti, for sponsoring this segment of the show. All right, so first question comes from Siraj CJ. 1993, it looks like. Hey guys, I'm around a 4.0 who's now playing with high level players. Really struggling with the consistently deep, heavy backspin returns against athletic, tall opponents who always seem to get to the non-volley zone before I've taken my third. My thoughts are that I've got no choice but to drive as hard as I can and try to get an earlier fifth to get in, and would love to hear your thoughts, Scott.
Well, thanks, Suraj. I think you're on the right track, but I have some other choices or other suggestions for you in dealing with this issue at 4-0 and 4-0 plus. So first, let's go back to your serve or your partner's serve. We've got to remember that our primary objective here is to delay their forward progress through a selection of tactics in order to take pressure off your third. So, let's consider heavier spin on your serve in order to aspire to depth, perhaps some more height over the net to get that ball to bounce up a little bit more. Just do whatever you can with the serve to delay their forward progress. But let's say that's not working and they do apply heavy slice, heavy backspin to their return. I deal with this all the time. I would like you to somewhat be elated by the pre-spin that they're offering you. That ball is already spinning in the direction that you like if you're going to apply topspin. And I get excited about that. The lower, the faster, and the more backspin on their return to serve, the more I can consider more shape over pace of my third shot, because that ball is going to dip off my paddle. And so you mentioned hitting it as hard as you can. I would suggest modifying that somewhat to let's throw them a breaking ball. Let's get that ball moving. And if it bounces, fantastic. But even if they have to hit it out of the air, they're on the move. They may have just arrived at the non-volley zone. And that breaking ball is kind of, I guess I've been loving my baseball analogies, is designed to produce a foul ball. And then the idea is, they cough up a fourth ball that's just much more appetizing for us to drop off of. So similar ideas, but let's be thinking more shape, a little less pace, and show some gratitude for the slice, the pre-spin that they give you, so that we can add extra spin and shape.
Right. Yeah, to your point, being grateful for slice returns so you can hit your third with great topspin. I'm typically pretty good at that, but playing 5-0 level players, so Ben Lampert has this ridiculous slice, and every time I see it, I'm like, oh, this is awesome, and then I hit it into the net. I mean, it's just super, super spinny. Or I overestimate and get that paddle face too open and it flies out. So you're saying breaking ball, or another term for that I think that you use is the rally ball, similar to that. Okay. So not a drop, not a full drive, but something that's, in between.
Something that's in between. And most of the mistakes on the thirds go into the net, with all this extra slice. So raise your target significantly, like the eyes of the returner, who's on their way in. And to be clear, let's not hit this ball at the stationary player on the other side who's poised and ready. Let's at least aim in the direction of the returner, who is either still on the move or not all that composed. And I would take the risk of hitting it long. Because all that extra spin is going to bring the ball down. And they could always hit a ball that's headed a foot or two long versus that one that goes in the net. And we never win those.
Sure. Okay. Great answer. Great question. Next question from Roger, SSE. I took a lesson recently from a pro, and he insisted that returns of serve be down the line with the rationale that the non-returning player can pinch the middle to pressure the third. It seems to me that returning middle can accomplish the same thing with more margin for error, plus the possibility of creating confusion. Of course, some variety is good, but all things being equal, aren't middle returns of the serve preferable to down the line?
Great question. I like a lot of this stuff, and this is a nice pattern. I like the down the line return, but first, based on who you're playing with and who you're playing against, let's have a conversation with your partner. Probably as warm-ups are wrapping up, who do we want to return to and why? And that's a whole other question that we can get into. But absent of that conversation, high, deep, and down the middle is a great default. How high? How fast do you feel like running? That's a different answer, for everybody. If you want to hit a drive, you just have to book it, a little bit more. But back to this pattern. Sometimes down the line gets mistaken for 2 inches from the sideline, and it doesn't need to be there. It's really the player who's directly across from you would be the better one to hit the next shot versus the one who's cross court. So let's get that thing 4, 5, 6 feet inside the sideline. And if it ends up in the middle, that's not too bad. But if the pattern is I return down the line so that my partner can crunch and squeeze the middle, I can't go cross court because if they squeeze the middle, they're leaving their line, wide open. So middle-ish, to down the line. And I prefer this play in a right-handed world from the even court so that I can return down the line and my right-handed partner can squeeze the middle with their forehand. Doesn't mean you can't do it on the other side, but it's a little less impactful. One of my favorite plays in particular is in mixed. I really like it when my mixed partner is returning from the right, that she returned down the line-ish. And again, it doesn't have to be that close to the sideline.
Right.
And I can get as big as I can at my size in the middle and achieve one of the primary objectives of return of serve, add pressure to their third.
Right.
And they really don't want to get that ball up to me. And there's a tiny little area to get that ball in front of my partner. They're welcome to go cross court with that, but they're trying to hit it to my partner. So it's a really nice play. A little bit better from the even side than the odd side, just because of the right-handed forehand. Especially nice and mixed, but great in gender doubles as well.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
And thanks for the questions, too. So this week's Analyzing Tape segment is brought to you by Babolat Footwear. So Babolat just came out with a new shoe specifically for pickleball called the Jet Mach Pickleball Shoe. You can see a pair here. So my personal experience with these is first of all, I loved the Jet Mach 3 court shoes that they made for tennis. And these are very similar to that. So they're lightweight, but also durable, and they have support. They do have a durable outsole, so this is a Michelin rubber outsole, which do tend to be more durable on the court than other shoes that I've used. So there's also good lateral support on these shoes, and they use something called the Matrix EVO system, which is a stability arch system made from aramid fibers. You can see these kind of bands here. And lastly, there's cushioning in the bottom of the shoe with EVA foam in particular areas for shock absorption, particularly around the heels. So overall, excellent shoes. Thank you, Babolat, for sponsoring the show. And you can buy these for $149, and you can take 10% off that with the code Johnkew. All right, now on to the meat and potatoes. So we're going to go into gameplay here. Now, this was with some friends at Lifetime. And correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, because I am colorblind.
Yeah.
So we got 4 of us, obviously. Brian and Brent. Sorry, Brent, I forgot your name last night. I had to ask. Chris, Brent in blue. Brian, gray shirt. Is that right?
Yes.
Does Chris have a actually green shirt?
It is green shirt. We've seen Chris before.
Yep.
Out here.
And that's me.
And that's you.
All right, Scott. So we got
and
a few
Brian,
points
I know
here.
a bit. Chris, just from our last video analysis, and Brent is new to me, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, take it away, good sir.
Okay. I'm focused on you here, and I'm really liking what I call that optimistic but realistic position. Chris, you've got advanced knowledge. He hits nice third shot drops, and odds are you're going to crunch based on what you see. So the ball comes off his paddle, and you're making kind of an early calculation. I'd like to see you get moving a little bit more here, and the ball is slightly above the net, but you're in a good spot. You've mentioned before that you consider your split step to be a little tardy when your feet are on the ground.
Right.
When your feet are off the ground. I think this timing looks good. I think you're just getting more and more comfortable with the split step.
Okay.
I mentioned on a previous show that at this point, you're gathering intel, and you can't wait to get a foot or two on the ground so that you can adjust your court position. So let's see what happens. Yeah, just as it comes off, you're making some decisions now. You've got springs loaded, and you're ready to react to the ball. And it doesn't come to you, but you're in a great spot. If that had come to you, I think you make the reset nicely there.
Do you think I had time? I'm kind of looking at it. It looks like about 4 feet away from me. You think I could have sprung up my right foot and taken that out of the air?
Well,
two-handed backhand?
it's a little hard to tell from this angle. I think if it were reversed and it was your forehand, yes.
Okay.
I think the footwork necessary to get in position to use a two-handed backhand is much more challenging. Nobody does it better than Annalie Waters, who gets in that position and gets her feet set and square. There are others that I can think of that have a foot off the ground. They don't have quite as much torque or pace or accuracy behind the ball. So I would say if you were going to get there, you'd need to get there early. To the forehand side, you don't need quite as crisp a footwork.
Okay. So I can tell you my perspective there.
Okay.
Brian is deceptively long.
Yes.
And I did not expect him to crush that ball nearly as much as I was expecting. So
yes,
it came off his paddle a lot earlier than I was expecting. But I'd like to hear, how could I have done better here?
I mean, my anticipation from Chris's drop shot was that Brian, that ball was going to bounce in front of Brian. I don't want to throw Brian under the bus, but he may be an inch or two further ahead than the rules allow on this case.
Happens to all of us.
Your anticipation may have been great, or may have been accurate. And for rec play, we're not going to get any kitchen violations. Right. So, let's adjust from there. You're a little further to the right, and Chris is a little further to the left. I think once that ball comes off of Chris's paddle, he needs to follow the trajectory of his shot, which would bring him more toward the middle. So I look more at Chris here, for this void in the middle. He's the left side player. He needs to be handling middle a little bit more. 1 or 2 inches of kitchen violation aside, Brian just makes a great play. And you're right, he's longer and makes an excellent shot. Let's just take a look at that.
A really good placement.
Yeah, he's really got excellent stretch, and he finds great placement there. So, maybe Chris could have picked that ball up, but see how he's a little too far to the left there? He should have followed the trajectory of his shot a little bit better.
Okay. Sometimes it's just too good from your opponents.
Too good. Love this rally. Let's get back to that lob. All right. We've talked about instigators, instigating and attacking on the show. I like the kitchen-based offensive lob as an instigator. It doesn't need to be a one-shot winner, a one-shot knockout. It causes chaos. It causes stress on the other side, and it works out, beautifully here. And Chris doesn't overhit this lob aspiring to a one-shot winner. He's looking for backhands. He's either trying to find Brent's backhand. He ends up getting Brian in exactly the sort of body language that we want when we've hit an effective instigator. He's not in a great position. We're looking for the pop-up. Brent gets into a little bit of a difficult position as well. And he gets this back, but you guys take the upper hand in this rally. I mean, he gets it back nice and low, but look at the chaos on the other side. I mean, the rally has swung very favorably for you guys. Brian probably didn't verbally claim this ball, so Brent felt like he needed to go get it. But it's all courtesy of Chris's lob that caused that stress. And then you're calm and composed. You got 2 guys off the court on the other side. You lean in, get it out of the air, and find the open space.
Brent was a lot quicker than I was expecting. He almost got to that ball.
Really good play. So from 4-0 to 4-5, breaking through to the next level. This is a great example of, I don't see players below 4-0 using this strategic offensive instigating lob as often as I would like. And you guys just claimed the advantage in the rally through this shot. Didn't need to be a one-shot winner. You just kind of took the upper hand.
Okay. So I was going to ask you about that one.
Sure.
So I veered from your advice
Yeah,
to always return to the person coming in, the receiver of the serve, right?
Yeah.
And my reasoning there was I'm editing these so you're not seeing a lot of lead up.
Right.
So Brian was pinching middle and poaching a lot of the shots. So I
Right.
wanted to keep him honest. So, and this one worked out. It's a pretty high risk, low reward, high risk, high reward shot, right? So not always do I make it, but this one did work out. So what are your thoughts on trying to pass the person who's pinching middle?
I'm good with it. Now, I'm not watching your whole game, and I'm expecting that this was a rarely used tactic,
Right.
and that the majority of the time, you go back at Brent, who's on his way in. But it kind of goes back to our questioner earlier, is if Brian wants to leverage his length and size in the middle, and Brent returns cross court, he's exposing his line. So, Brent should maybe use that pattern that we discussed of returning to Chris so that Brian can crunch in the middle a little bit more effectively.
Right.
You can see even now he's leaving some line available. You have the skills. You brought onto the court the tool set to be able to execute this shot. You do it a bit in a cheeky way. It's a little bit of a no look. You execute the shot. It's in. I don't know how in it is. I like the net clearance. One of the biggest issues with this down the line shot is there's a little bit higher net over there, and you can flirt with, in this case, the green, out of bounds.
Right.
But assuming this is 10, 15% or less of your third shots, I'm in favor.
Right.
If it's much greater than that, it's just a little too risky.
Okay.
I like the play. Yeah, that's well in. Well done.
Yeah. You have to rely on your paddle to generate a lot of topspin on this and your form, obviously.
Yeah,
To
and
get
I think the
going.
compact backswing achieved a couple of different goals. It added to the stealthy factor. Brian didn't really know where it was going, and he didn't blow it into the fence because of the giant backswing. You were moving through the hitting zone, but not running through the hitting zone. And that's a little bit of a misunderstanding. If you're a 2-5 or a 3-0, I want you fully stationary when you hit that shot. But at the higher levels, having your center of mass inclining towards the net, as long as that's something that you've practiced and you could control your paddle through the hitting zone, go for it.
Okay.
All right. I mean, this is why the game and my coaching has evolved to, let's take a decent swing at our third shot. Keep it in play, but the objective is not to knock the guys down and win the rally. The objective, is to get a foul ball. I don't think this one comes off of the fat part of the bat for Brian. You're threatening, but, everyone watching this show, at this point can hit a drop shot from that part of the court, whether it's your backhand or Chris's forehand. That's the goal of the third shot drive,
Right.
to get the less impactful fourth, upon which we can then, drop. I love the cross court, cornhole style trajectory, plenty of loft on that, lots of kitchen to land it into. And, I don't know what happens next, but you guys as the serving team, your goal is to neutralize the rally. I'll provide a little critique here. You put ample time on your drop shot, and it bounced, and I don't know that you guys pounced.
Right.
You pounce a little better than Chris, but what's he waiting for? So when Chris sees that your ball is going to bounce, he needs to get in Brent's face a little bit more. Brent doesn't have as much pressure on him as he should. Chris has great hands. He's strong. He's long. He should be in Brent's face at this point, hopefully producing a mistake.
And that's a key point that I think, you keep hitting on, but it's something, as my experience coming from a 3-5 to a 4-0, now working my way to a 4-5, that's been key. Like when you're a 3-5, at least back when I was, one of the myths was get to the kitchen as fast as you can. As soon as you return to the ball, run to the kitchen. And sometimes it works at 3-5 level, but as you're getting playing higher level players, they know how to exploit that. So that's a really dumb advice. And then I feel like at 4-0, you become too cautious.
The other way.
The pendulum swings. You become too cautious, and you don't take advantage of the times when you should absolutely run to the kitchen and split step before they hit the ball. And this was a great example. And I'm still in that same mindset, the 4-0 mindset of cautious, one step at a time, split step. I should have been at the kitchen, and Chris, could have come with me as well.
Yeah, and in this case, I mean, you put some nice backspin on your fourth shot drop. It doesn't bounce very high. I know we've talked about this before that, being worried about your drop shot being too high so that it bounces above net level. Well, this one doesn't. But given the fact that the two of you haven't pounced as much as I would like, there's a fairly gaping hole down the middle, right now. If Chris is in Brent's face, squeezing middle, leaning middle, and you're up another step, then middle's not open. I don't know if Brent takes advantage of it here. But if I'm Brent and I sense that Chris is back, that's one of those times I might go for that, field goal right down the middle. Because the middle feels pretty open here.
Yeah.
I think he did. It didn't quite find it.
To your point now, if I would have been at the kitchen, I don't think I would have got hit that pop-up for
probably
Brian
not
to put away.
Yeah. It's another reason why we've talked about how resets from the midcourt. I like the half volley, but you're not given the opportunity to half volley here. I would prefer, especially that we've identified now Brian's length and ability to get these balls out of the air, that you be inclined to go cross court.
Right.
Lower net, more landing area, and I think Brent is less of an issue than Brian when it comes to this. This straight ahead reset is really a problem in 4-0 to 4-5. This one's far enough that Brian can put it away, but it's also an earnable ball. If that thing goes straight ahead to Brian or to me, and it's a little closer to the sideline, that thing's going to get earned. So a little bit more room on the cross court here. Brian takes care of business. I know we talked in our last show about, you use my suggestion, use as much of the backcourt as possible. The guys you're playing with aren't going to do this short little dinky serve.
Right.
And I just really want to make sure that versus a deep, deep serve, that you're stepping in this case. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, so I'll comment on that too.
Yeah.
This was 2 days after, this recording was 2 days after, you gave me that advice, basically, and I had not internalized it yet. I've got some more footage from Boulder Pickleball after this that I didn't use here, where I'm actually putting my butt against the wall and then taking one step forward every time. And so that I did kind of internalize that, and I've been working on that since. But
awesome.
This is not a good example.
Yeah, I mean, Lifetime gives you these lovely pads to lean up against, so you may as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that two-hander. Woo!
Yeah.
Okay, advanced knowledge of opponents. Brian's got a tennis background.
Right. Although he just added that to his arsenal. We were just commenting before.
Okay.
That Brian has improved leaps and bounds. That was a two-handed backhand that I'd never seen out of Brian.
Yeah.
It just ripped it right down the middle.
I know.
I was expecting, backhand, it's not going to come back very fast.
Yeah, your split step timing's not bad. Yeah, this is a low margin shot. Good for Brian. It's just a great ball.
That was half an inch over the net there.
I know. Let's see where it lands to. I mean, that's just a great shot. If I wanted to nitpick, in a right-handed world, I look at the left side player to captain the middle, meaning that they can claim it, take it, or say yours. Not a lot of time for that in this case. But it would be really hard for Brian to beat Chris to his left. So if I were coaching in real time, I wouldn't mind seeing Chris's right foot on that center line prior to Brian hitting the ball. But again, credit to Brian. I think this is just a surprise.
Yeah.
He hadn't been doing this and hits a fantastic shot.
Yeah, another one of these. Too good.
Yep. And you gave the proper body language. Good little split step, John. Right. Well, what are you going to do there?
All right. What happened there? Did you go in the net?
Well, I mean, you hit a nice drop, towards Brent on his way in, and he just hits a superior shot.
Oh, okay. Yeah. His did not go in the net. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I wanted to give props to this really nice shot.
Yeah. Again, I'm not picking on Chris too. I mean, I guess I am, but I like his play. So here's where, you hit a third, a successful third. The goal is to get them to hit up. Look at your excellent form. You're going at the player on the move. At this point, if I'm Chris, I'm ready to compliment you by pressuring and pouncing and getting. I would like to get in Brent's peripheral vision here if I'm Chris.
Yeah.
Just before he hits the ball. So, Chris could be on his horse, moving forward, causing stress and pressure for Brent. Like, he just should not be able to find open space over here because of Chris's position. Another fantastic shot. These guys are playing a really good ball. But my number one advice to Chris at this point is be more aggressive in the front court, especially when his partner, hits a really good third shot.
Okay, yeah. And then after a winner like that, I think we both did the right thing, and that is, all right.
Great shot. Yeah. Great shot.
Let's see if we can do it 10 more times, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And at the same time, I do say, if you get beat, let's get beat on this.
Yeah.
Let's not get beat down the middle.
Right.
But I'd like to see Chris a little further up.
Sure.
If we could.
That was just an excellent shot. Good spot there.
Yeah. This is how you keep guys playing with you. You give them highlights on the show.
I got to be fair, right?
I know. We're going to have to feature Chris,
Exactly,
soon.
yeah,
but he's getting, free coaching.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah. Stopping here because, back to our questioner earlier, here's this pattern where Chris returns to the down-the-line player. Mm-hmm. He kind of comes toward the middle here. I wouldn't mind seeing you straddling the middle line a little bit more and push Chris to the right. Let's see what happens. Nice roll, John. Yeah, that's great. And we looked at that last video analysis time where you were a little too passive, on this shot. And I think you get in great position, great footwork, level shoulders. This is pro level here, John. Great stuff. And you aggressively roll this ball down and get the pop up. That's what we're looking for. That's just a really good play. And you actually do this twice. So that's your put away. Set up with the same shot here. A good heavy ball with good topspin. Yeah, and you left this ball up last time we did video analysis, and Jason made you pay for it.
Yeah.
So great technique. More in the Ben Johns backhand roll than the J.W. Johnson, which is a little more wristy.
I think the next one is a little wristier.
Yeah, well, it was a little more of a put away straight ahead. So that's great technique. Ben would like that. Get that ball down to Brent, and he's just not able to quite control it. And you're able to hit down on this next one. Brian's a little bit of a sitting duck, and you get enough pace and get that ball down. And that's just great job, John.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nice deep return. So what did these guys fail to do?
Did it bounce in the kitchen?
It bounced.
Okay. I think it bounced.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the bounce. Okay.
Yeah, so where are they? Would like to see Brian a little further up to provide some pressure. You have no pressure on this shot, and then you apply pressure to them. Oh, good anticipation, John. You started the mess, and then you cleaned it up.
Yeah, and Brian's got the mod paddle too, so
yeah.
I was like, oh no.
So I think Brent makes a little bit of a mistake here going at you. He could go straight ahead and have maybe a little bit more success, but he does get the pop-up out of you. He gets that ball down, so that's nice. And at this point, John, the little voice bubble over your head is, oh, crap.
Right.
You know, I expect Brian's going to move forward. He's got that mod paddle. He's going to hit it hard. Watch your footwork here. You're like, I'm committing to backhand shield defense. I'm going to slide my body out of the way. Brian has hardly even hit this ball yet. And you've moved your right shoulder and you've committed to backhand D. And, you know, you get enough of the paddle on it to get that ball back, you know, and pretty much gets the job done. Really fond of that. So that's that anticipation, using the split step and sliding your right shoulder a couple of feet right, in this case with really good backhand shield play. You could have used forehand shield and slid left,
Right.
But I just love that you didn't stand there to take it.
Right.
You adjusted your defensive posture, and it worked out well.
Great.
And you did it again. Yeah, I mean, that's just really good.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, you know, I remember thinking, all right, something spicy's coming here, so I'm going to get ready, get my shield up. And that's when I miss those or when I get body bagged, it's not anticipating. I mean, nobody's that quick with reaction time alone where you can just wait for the ball to come off the paddle and then get your paddle there.
Yeah.
So that anticipation is key.
But this is the value of the heads-up, light, cooperative instigator game. Because that's basically what's going on here, is the ball comes off your paddle, and whether it's from drilling with me or with Eddie or whoever it might be, you're like, you know, that dink John's just not as good as I would have liked it to have been. And right away you're thinking, if I'm Brent, I'm going to do something spicy with this. And again, you can stand there and take it in the chest. You know, I mean, it's not terrible, but Brent does exactly what he's supposed to do. And you've decided, I'm not going to stand there and take it. I'm going to slide right, prepare my backhand shield. And you anticipated it, you know, use his pace, get it right back at him, and that gets the job done.
Yeah, worked out.
So this is the 4.5 plus level of play. You know, your dink wasn't great. It was sub 4.0 level dink. Probably should have been a cross court dink. The straight ahead one doesn't work very well.
Right.
But your anticipation skills are getting pretty crisp, and your ability to slide, prepare that shield, and play the counter is 4.5 plus level.
Great. I think that's the last point.
Okay.
So next game, Chris, I'll put some Chris highlights in there.
All right.
He got
Chris got the free coaching this time.
Right.
Yeah, great job, you guys.
Yeah. Well, that takes us to kind of the homework section now. So
Okay.
what are you seeing, Scott, in terms of our court time together, tape analysis that you think we can work on over the next 2 weeks?
You know, I'm loving your kitchen play. We're seeing some mid-court deficiencies in there. We had some straight-ahead resets. So, you know, some more 5 and dime cross court so that you really imprint the idea that if I'm stuck for the 5th, the 7th, the 9th, and 11th, that if it bounces, I am likely to go cross court. We did see a beautiful fifth shot, you know, from you that bounced, and we wanted Chris to pounce a little bit more. But a couple of those straight ahead resets got you into trouble. We definitely need to maybe with a 7-11 type style game, recognize when you've hit a quality third and pounce and be more aggressive, you know, on that. So 7-11 and 5 and dime, good core games.
Okay.
So from the baseline to the NVZ, I think is where we need to focus for the next week or two.
Okay. That sounds great. And the two key drills for that, 5 and dime, cross court, and 7-11. So.
Sure. Yeah, and in your rec play, let's go with that first 5 singular focus.
Right.
I'm going to err on being a little too aggressive in my court positioning, not as you said once, you know, we get from 4 to 4-5, we get a little incremental with our forward movement. Let's throw that out for the first 5 and commit. Go.
Right.
See what happens. Your split step is starting to look really crisp, and I like your timing, and that's your safety plan.
Okay.
If you overcommit, and you see your opponent's paddle up a little bit, let's split step and show some of this defense that you showed here.
Yeah. There's something else I've been working on in the split step too. My knee started hurting a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, what's going on? It's been a while since my knee's been sore. I thought I was just playing too much. But then I realized that during the drilling, I was split stepping too hard. I was like pounding my feet into the ground, especially on the serve return game where you time your split step as a returner when the ball hits the server's paddle. So I also realized after I fixed that, like being more agile and just kind of hopping and hitting lightly and then pouncing. It's a more effective way instead of just clodding along and, hopping really hard on your feet. It's not so much a slam your feet on the ground. It's be agile, hit the balls of your feet, and then pounce once your feet lightly land on the ground.
And a reminder, that it's not a split stop, that we're not grounding into the ground here. It is a thousandth of a second, very light, quick touch, gather intel, and spring from there.
Yeah. Gazelle, more gazelle, less wildebeest.
There you go.
All right, Scott. That wraps up our episode today, unless you have other stuff to talk about.
I think we're making good progress. Upcoming, let's put our eyes on signing up for a tournament, finding the right partners for that, and maybe discuss the concept of some local duper play if we can get on court with the right players.
Yeah.
And let's start feeding some more data into the duper system.
Fantastic. All right, Scott. Thanks so much.
Thanks, John.